Yo, what is good, everybody? Welcome to my new channel. This may be a little bit different than what you're normally used to seeing me in, of course, playing games and stuff. But now I want to focus a channel that's really based on sports. Sports has been a huge part of my life, and I enjoy talking about it. I feel like I have a decent amount of knowledge on it, so I want to bring that love and enjoyment to you guys. And what better way to start it than one of the most controversial things you can ever do? Rank quarterbacks. This is every starter in the league pretty much. There's a few backups like Dalton and Winston and a few others, but for the most part, this is going to be the best quarterbacks in the league. There's some bums at the end of the bench, but I think we know where they would go. So, of course, you know how tier lists work by now. Basically, I'll put them by category, making people who I feel are all elite will go here, great, good, average, below average. These two are kind of like, your average is like you're serviceable. You can throw them in, win a couple games. Below average, you're just not good. And dreadful is just you're god awful. Like, there's no other way to put it. But anyways, starting off with this list, we have the man Josh Allen, and after his second year in the league, played very well, led the Bills to the playoffs. Did a very good job with his team, even won him a playoff game too. So there has to be some happiness for this guy, upside for sure. But I am gonna put him in good. I do think that he has a lot of potential. He could lead the Bills to doing some great things this year, but I don't see him being at this great tier just yet. I think he needs another year or two of being where he is and getting a little bit better for him to jump up here. But I also do think he's better than just an average quarterback. And I do think the Bills have a good shot at potentially competing for that division with this guy's old team. So we got Tom Brady. The guy is either the most loved, most hated, or somewhere in between for a lot of fans. Now I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan, so uh, as much as I respect the man, when I saw him in the playoffs, it was a nail biter for me. And I do realize that he is pretty old, and I think he has a lot of, you know, he has a lot of room for error this season. He has a great offense around him, two great wide receivers, three amazing tight ends with Howard, Gronk, and um, and Cameron Brate. You can't forget about him. And then you have now you just got Leonard Fournette. You have and a really good running back crew, Shady McCoy. So there's some big things on his shoulders this year. So we'll see how he performs with that kind of star-studded offense. Because in the past he didn't really have like all the weapons all at the same time. He had the Randy Moss, Edelman, Welker, Gronkowski, but they weren't always like if they were all on the field at the same time, that would be more similar to what he has right now. But to me, do I think he's one of the greatest of all time? Yes. However, I don't see him as being that elite quarterback that he was in the mid to late 2000s and early 2010s anymore. I do see him as still being a great quarterback. I think he has a great year ahead of him. Potentially could lead the Bucks to even the Super Bowl. The sky's the limit for his team, and it rests on this guy's shoulders. And I think he'll put on a great year. Up next, we have one of the guys that I think competes with this man right here as the GOAT in the league or as a quarterback. He has had one of the best careers of all time. He won a Super Bowl. He's got a very good team, a top three wide receiver on his team. Depending on Alvin Kamara, he has a top 10 running back. So he's got some weapons. He doesn't have nearly the weapons that Brady does, but that doesn't take away from how great he's been playing. Um, Clearly, the offense has kind of run more on a run game lately, but overall, I can't put him elite anymore as well. I think he's very close. Like these two are like, if I could put them on the line, I would, because they've been so good for such a long time, and they're still very very good. I just don't see them as that elite presence anymore. I don't see them rolling out to the pocket with extreme with their speed and dotting someone out down the field 40 yards. Most of Michael Thomas's catches are like short yardage slant type things, which is partially why he had so many receptions last year because they're easy to find. And similarly with Brady, with Edelman and things of that sort, he didn't really, and with the two running backs, he didn't really have a whole lot of like deep threats. So maybe this could change this year with Brady because now he has two, three, four, even five like really, really good deep threats for him. So maybe these two could go up here at some point in the year, but as of right now, I have them at great. Up next, Teddy Bridgewater. Now, a lot of people were high on him right after this last year. He had a really good stretch when Drew Brees was out, and he led the team to a really good record. He showed glimpses of his old self, maybe not as athletic, but he still had the accuracy. He still had a good arm, and he earned himself another starting job. So you gotta put props where he deserves it. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's great, but I don't think he's on the same level as Josh Allen right now. I think if he never got hurt, he could be up here, even up here, if he kept on the trajectory he had when he was in Minnesota. But as of right now, I don't see him as being such an amazing quarterback. I mean, when you have a top 10 running back in Kamara, another very good running back in Latavius Murray behind you, and you had Michael Thomas, Traquan Smith throw the ball too. I think that definitely helped him out with a really good offensive line. However, you have in Carolina, things are going to be a lot different. Yes, he's going to have, in my opinion, the best running back in the NFL, but he also has a much worse receiving core. DJ Moore is good, but he's nothing compared to Michael Thomas. Up next, we got Jacoby Brissett. Now we're hitting our first backup, and he had some times in New England where I thought he was going to be really good, and then the last 2 years happened where Luck got hurt, so he was forced to play, and then Luck retired, so he was forced to play again. And I think they started playing him before he was really ready to take a full starting job yet, and they paid him like one too. So I think that somewhat hindered them. In my opinion, he is a below average quarterback. I think he can win you a couple games, but it has to cater solely around him and his play style. I don't see him being a starter really anywhere else in his career. I think he could be a very, very good backup, but I don't see him as a starter, and I don't see him on the level as Teddy Bridgewater right now. Up next, the top quarterback in the draft, the best quarterback potentially of all time in college football, Joe Burrow. Now, of course, he has potential to go up here, up here, up here, all this stuff. When you talk about a really, really good quarterback and what he did in college. However, I don't see him there just yet for the simple reason that he hasn't played a snap in the NFL. So I'm going to just simply put him in average for now. Of course, this could easily go up here within the first couple games of the season, but for now, I don't see him as being up here yet because right now Josh Allen is a better quarterback in the NFL than Joe Burrow because Joe Burrow hasn't played yet. But at the same time, I don't want to put him down here because I feel like that'd be a bit disrespectful. Up next, you've got Derek Carr. Now, he was on a huge stretch for a little while when he was in the Raiders, and then he got that really, really bad leg injury heading right into the playoffs, which I think really, really hindered his game. And I feel kind of bad for him. He was a great player for a long time, and he's not bad anymore. I think he could have a bounce back year this year, but at the same time, I'm not really sure about that with Tyrell Williams getting hurt and he's out for the year. So now a lot of it is on him. He's got a great tight end, Darren Waller, great running back, and Josh Jacobs. They got some good old linemen. But it could depend on just how this guy plays. Oakland could be, or I guess Las Vegas now could be looking for a replacement for him soon. but I think give him another year or so and he could be decent. I'm gonna leave him in average just because I think he is he's still a serviceable quarterback. He could go out there for Oakland and win them 7, 8 games. I think potentially this semester this year, and we'll see. Maybe he could slide up here at some point. Up next, Kirk Cousins. Now, this is the man that almost missed the he almost missed his target when he was thrown for his gender reveal. And he's had an up and down career, very much so. He's had some very big ups when he was in Washington, then he had a lot of really, really big downs. And then he ended up in Minnesota, and he had a really shaky start in the last year. Him and Stephon Diggs were not having the greatest of chemistry. But then they turned it up at the end of the season, and he started playing really, really well. Won him a playoff game. And I think Kirk Cousins is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL. He, like I said, he does have his ups and his downs, but I think he is a great quarterback. He does have his moments when he's down here, even down here, but overall, I think he does have a great quarterback in Minnesota. And I think as time goes on with Thielen, they got Justin Jefferson now. Hopefully, that isn't too much of a drop off from Stephon Diggs. Obviously, initially it will, but we'll see how Justin Jefferson progresses. And I truly do think Kirk Cousins is a great quarterback in the league right now. Up next, Andy Dalton, the Red Rocket. Now, after watching this guy play for so many years as a Baltimore fan, when he shredded us with that Tyler Boyd touchdown for us to miss the playoffs for the Bills to make it, I hate this guy. However, I got to show respect. I got to show love where it's deserved. Andy Dalton, I do think, is still a good quarterback. Last year, he was in a rough situation since he didn't even want him on the team anymore. I think he is a good regular season quarterback. I think he could have been a good postseason quarterback if they didn't have garbage as a coaching staff and Marvin Lewis. And I mean, I think the Bengals organization just been snake bitten for a while now. But for right now, I think he's between these two, right? Because I think personally, I do think he is the best backup in the league right now. Maybe between him and Jameis Winston, but I'm gonna put him in average. I think for whatever reason, if he had to step in for Dak, I think he could still step in and potentially lead them to the playoffs. I mean, that's props to how good of a team I think Dallas is this year. But I do really think that Andy Dalton is a great quarterback, and I think he could, at least an average quarterback, he could win them a couple games, take them at least not to where they're a bottom feeder team anymore. At least to where they're not a bottom feeder team if they didn't have someone of his caliber. Up next, Sam Darnold. Now, he has had a very interesting start to his career, I think. I don't think he has the best arm strength in the league. I don't think he's been very good per se for the last 2 years of his career. I do think there is still upside for him. The Jets, I mean, they're the Jets. They haven't put together anything around him. They just recently drafted Mekhi Becton. They got Denzel Mims. So hopefully that'll help out him because last year the only real receivers they had were Jamison Crowder and Robbie Anderson. And honestly, like Jamison Crowder should not be your top receiver. I'm sorry. Hopefully Le'Veon has a bounce back year to help this guy out. Maybe he's just seeing ghosts out there. That's why he can't hit a target. But for right now, I gotta put him in below average. I gotta be honest. I think all of these quarterbacks are a better quarterback than Sam Darnold is right now. Of course, he does have potential to move up on this list if he has a good year, but as of what he's shown me right now, I don't see it. And I'm rating this off of right now. I'm not rating it off of potential. I'm not rating it off of where they're going to be in 5 years. It's right now, And right now, Sam Darnold is a below average quarterback. Dak Prescott. Man, oh man, where do we start with this guy? He is Mr. 40 million, Mr. thinks he's the best in the league, but all the people that rag on him for saying that, I mean, if you were in his position, you would try to say the same thing. Obviously there's guys like this guy who are exceptional, but this guy is great. He is a very, very good quarterback. He might not have the arm strength of a Josh Allen, but he still has something left in the tank for him. I think he's gonna have a bounce back year. I know it. They got C.D. Lamb, they got the three-headed monster and Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and C.D. back there. They got Zeke, they got Tony Pollard. They have a very very good team, I think, and I really do think that they're gonna have a big year, and I think Dak is gonna be a great quarterback this year. Say what you want to about that. I truly do think Dak is a very, very good quarterback. And I think this season is going to show how great he can be, assuming he stays healthy. Up next, you have Ryan Fitzmagic, the beard of football. Now, if only his beard helped him as much as James Harden's does, but ultimately, I like he's been a journeyman throughout his career. He's been that backup to step in for anyone at any time whenever you need a win. And for whatever reason, he ends up dropping like a crazy 2 games a season for whatever reason, and then the rest of the year he's just average. Personally, I do think he is an average quarterback. I think he, along with Andy Dalton and Jameis, are the three best backups in the league from time to time. I know Ryan Fitzpatrick could start at the beginning of the year for Tua, but I do think that Ryan Fitzpatrick is an average quarterback, at least. When he's on his tear and he's going off and he's destroying and dotting up teams, he's like up here, maybe but for the most part, he is down here. He's not the quarterback that's going to lead you to the promised land, but he's a quarterback that can step in and win you a game when you need him to. Mr. Flacco, my favorite quarterback of all time as a Ravens fan. I remember watching that 11-0 touchdown to interception ratio on our road to the Super Bowl. Probably my favorite season of all time. However, Joe's just not the same. He's not who he was. He's not who he used to be. It hurts me to put him down here, but I do think he has the juice in him that he once did. Um, I think as a backup to Sam Darnold, he could be helpful in a number of different situations, especially in maturity. I think Joe is a great veteran. He really helped Lamar grow up really quickly, and I think if Lamar had started immediately, I don't think he would be the same quarterback he is now. I think with Joe and RG3 in that locker room, it really helped him. So I think Joe is a great veteran. I think if for whatever reason Sam Darnold does go down, I think Joe could step in there and be decent. I don't think he's going to be at the same level as these guys, but I still think he could throw you for a good 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, and yeah. Up next, Nick Foles. Now a lot of people hype this guy up because of his Super Bowl run, and I guess I can say I do the same thing for this guy. But in my opinion, Nick Foles really isn't all that. You know, he had his couple years in his first stretch in Philly where he was really, really good, and then he left to go to the Rams and he was trash. And then he left back for the Eagles and he won him a Super Bowl. And now he left from the Eagles and he got hurt in Jacksonville. Now he's on the Bears fighting for a starting job against this abomination. So now, and personally, I don't think he's that far off from Mitch Trubisky, in my opinion. Personally, I put him down here. Say what you want about me, Bears fans. Say what you want about that. I don't think Nick Foles is a good quarterback. Up next, Jared Goff. And I don't even know where to start with this guy because he had some incredible year when they went to the Super Bowl. With Todd Gurley was in his MVP status form, and he was balling. And then he just dropped from there, and then they decided to pay him instead of Todd Gurley, and now Todd Gurley fell down a cliff. It seems like in his his career. But I do think Jared Goff is still a good quarterback. I don't think he is at the level of these guys, but I don't think he's the level of these guys just yet. I do think Allen is a bit better than Jared Goff right now, but I think Jared can have a bounce back year with having Cooper Cup and the tight ends, and they got Robert Woods. I think they have a good offense around him. Hopefully, the running back position doesn't sell him. But overall, I think that he'll have a decent year. I don't think they'll win the division or anything, but I think they'll win probably 7, 8 games or so. Up next, Dwayne Haskins. I don't really know if I need to say a whole lot more. Dwayne was not a good quarterback last year. Actually, I'll put him up here. I don't think he had a year that should be commended by any sense. Um, he had one of the best rookie wide receivers that I've seen in a while in Terry McLaurin. Um, you can blame it on the team around him. It's god awful. There's nothing else around him, so I guess you put him up here. I do think he has potential, but I don't know how much more he really has. But I guess we'll see as this season really goes. I think the organization is not the greatest. I think they made a fantastic picks with Chase Young, so maybe that defense can bolster up and help out the offense a bit. But we'll see from here. All right, up next, Mr. Herbert, Mr. Justin Herbert, Mr. Shoulda left college when you had the chance, Herbert. Now, I don't think that Herbert is on the level of Burrow or Tua just yet. However, I am going to put him in the same category for the simple reason that I don't know how good he's going to be. He had his fantastic year at Oregon a year ago, and personally, I think he should have come out of the draft that year because he would have been the first taken off the board, no doubt. I mean, he'd be in a Giants uniform right now, so maybe it's a good thing that he stayed in college. But overall, I do think he has potential to have a good year, depending on whenever they give him the job over Tyrod. He has a, an amazing wide receiver in Keenan Allen out there. He's got Mike Williams. He's got Hunter Henry if he ever stays healthy. Austin Eckler. They've got a good offense there, and if he can take the keys and turn it into something good, then I think he has potential to get pretty dang good. Up next, Taysom Hill. Um, I'll put him here. His role on the Saints isn't what you would typically see in a backup quarterback, and now that he's kind of like the do-it-all player where he can play literally every position there is for whatever reason. But he's just a freak of nature athlete. But in terms of quarterback situation, I don't see him better than any of these people right here. Up next, I don't know if I really need to say anything else. All bias aside, Lamar Jackson is a top three quarterback in the league. He showed it last year. His arm strength is there. He threw for 3,000 yards, rushed for 1,000, led the league in passing touchdowns. He is an elite quarterback. And assuming he still stays on the path that he's on, he keeps getting better. I think he has the potential to be the best quarterback in the league. Up next, Jimmy G. Now, I've always been someone who's been super skeptical of Jimmy G. I don't know really where I'm going to put him just yet because, in my opinion, the entire offense got carried by the defense and the running game. I think Jimmy G had a few standout games where he put the team on his back and he did really well, but he's had other games where, like the Super Bowl, where he completely sold his team and he was trash. So he has games where he's up here, but he also has times when he's up here. So I'm going to put him right in the middle and good. I think he is a good quarterback. I think he does have potential, but it's just going to take another year for me to really believe in him. Up next, Danny Dimes. Now, I mean, it's the Giants. The team is trash. Um, he wasn't particularly amazing. He had a few games at the beginning of the season where you're like, oh my, we all slept on this guy in the draft. Nobody thought that he was going to go before Dwayne Haskins, in my opinion, at least. So I was a little bit shocked to see him in a Giants uniform. But he showed what he had right off the bat, and I think he has potential to be good, but as of right now, he hasn't shown me that just yet. Up next, Kyler Murray, first overall pick in the last year's draft. I think, man, he has potential to be at the tier of this guy. I really think their games look very similar, and it's nice seeing them square off twice a year, and I can't wait to see that this year. With the best, in my opinion, one or two best wide receiver in the NFL. Kyler Murray is going to have a star-studded year, but up until then, I'm going to leave him right here. I think Kyler Murray is fantastic. I do think that he's going to be up here next year, but I just want to see it before I can put him up there just yet. Up next, Drew Lock. Now, had a very good year last year once he took over for Joe. He has potential to be very good, but right now I'm going to put him in average. I want to see, like, the same situation with Kyler Murray. I want to see him do it before I move him up to here. But as of right now, he's an average quarterback. Do I need to say anything else? Super Bowl MVP, 50 touchdowns a year ago, the best quarterback in the league, no question. Up next, Marcus Mariota is a dreadful quarterback. Say what you want. He had one of the worst years I've ever seen out of quarterback last year with the Titans, and he had to get replaced by Tannehill, who got replaced the year before. I know he had injuries with his hand. He wasn't able to grip the football very well, but like he's just been a bust, and there's no other way to really put it for me. He drafted at number two, and he just hasn't shown anything for me. So right now, I do have him as a dreadful quarterback. I don't think he should be anywhere in the league. I mean, maybe as a backup, but right now, I don't see him getting any better. Baker Mayfield, my goodness, this guy, it's hard for me to rank him because he had an incredible rookie year. He really, really scared me as a Ravens fan. I got worried seeing that guy play, thinking maybe they would knock us from the playoffs because of this guy. But then this last year, he had an atrocious year. I mean, they had a horrible coaching system. The Browns organization is just not great. But he had a rough year, sophomore slump, if you will. But right now, I'm going to put him in average. I think he has potential to get better, but think he has potential to stay where he is. He's got all the tools around him to be great. Great tight end, great wide receivers, great running backs. But as of right now, he's going to be right here. If he can show me different, then he'll be up here, maybe even here. But if he also continues to progress, easily be down here. Up next, Gardner Minshew, Minshew Mania. No, when he did play, I do think he was a bit overhyped just because he has a weird looking mustache and he was winning the Jags games for some reason. I do think he's definitely a good quarterback, but he just hasn't shown it for me for that long of a time. He doesn't have a great arm. He doesn't have a great arm strength, and I really don't think that he's going to win the Jags very many games this year. I know the Jags are kind of tanking for Trevor Lawrence, but I kind of feel bad for him because, he didn't have a whole lot of opportunity. And with the opportunity he was given, he thrived in it. And hopefully, he can play well enough this year to where the Jags don't think to replace him. But we'll see what happens. Up next, Cam Newton. He's a few years away from his MVP season, and he's been riddled with nothing but injuries. And it's hard to really like, along with Baker, it's hard for me to put him anywhere because I know who Cam is, I know who Cam can be, but I don't know where he's going to be this year. I think with a Bill Belichick offense, that's definitely going to boost him, and I think right now I'm going to put him in good. I think he has potential to be up here, but right now I am going to put him in good. I just need to see what he can do this year off of those injuries before I can put him anywhere else. Up next, Hall of Famer, Mr. Hilarious Trash Talk, Mr. 50 Million Kids, Philip Rivers. Philip is an interesting one too, simply because he's in a new system with a good coach, a great offensive line, got decent running backs in Marlon Mack, got a very good receiver, probably the most underrated receiver in the NFL in my opinion, T.Y. Hill. Um, I think he has the potential to have a good bounce back year. I think lately he's had years where he either plays amazingly or he's complete trash. And I think off of the year he had last year, a new environment, I think he's going to be a good quarterback this year. And I fully stand by that. And I think has potential to lead the Colts into the playoffs. Up next, one of the greatest of all time. I don't think I need to say anymore. Aaron Rodgers, he is still elite. I know what you're thinking, how are these two great, but this guy's elite still. I think Aaron Rodgers had an impeccable season last year. I think it was outshined by these two guys and this guy. But I do think that Aaron Rodgers is going to lead the Packers right back to where they were. I don't think the Jordan Love pickup will necessarily hurt him as much as people think. Maybe it might hurt him in the fact that they didn't get a receiver for him. But in terms of his mindset, I know he's laser sharp and he's going to lead his team at least to the NFC Championship, in my opinion. Up next, Josh Rosen. No, I do feel somewhat for him just because he hasn't really been given a chance. He had 1 year in Arizona and then got replaced. And then he went to Miami and he basically got trashed on. He was awful. But personally, I was never a fan of him. He had his remarkable UCLA career, and then he came out of there, and in my opinion, he was just really, really cocky. And after that cockiness, nothing came from it. Personally, I do think he's a dreadful quarterback. He is awful. If I had another category, he'd be down here. He is one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. Big Ben, the quarterback that I've seen the most of in my life, along with this guy. See him twice a year. Uh, Somehow ends up splitting it every year, whether or not he's starting or not. He's a fantastic quarterback, Hall of Famer, two-time Super Bowl champion. Beat us in the playoffs too many times to count. Um, but I think off of his injury, I don't know what Big Ben we're gonna get. I've seen him get hurt and play through that time after time, but I do think he's gonna be a good quarterback. I think they have potential to make the playoffs, make the wild card this year, but it all rests on that guy right there and how he plays. All right, Matty Ice. Matty Ice is a great quarterback, and he had a bit of a slump last year. I think the lack of targets for Julio in the end zone was a bit of a concern for me. However, Matt Ryan is a great quarterback. He has great accuracy, great arm strength, has an amazing receiving core. I think Matt Ryan is going to have a very, very good season next year, and I do think the Falcons will make the playoffs. Up next, Matt Stafford. I'm also going to put him in great. I feel for Matt Stafford because ever since Calvin Johnson left him, he's been having some tough times in Detroit. But he now has a great underrated receiver in Kenny Galladay. He has Marvin Jones. I think he is a great quarterback. And say what you want to about the Lions and Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford is going to have a great year, whether or not the Lions do or not. Up next, you got Ryan Tannehill, former Miami Dolphin. And not personally, I thought he played fairly decent in Miami. I was kind of shocked when they got rid of him. I guess all the injuries and stuff kind of got to him. Then he went to Tennessee, handed the ball off a million times, and then they beat my Ravens, and I was upset about that. But I do think he's an average quarterback still. I think if Derrick Henry wasn't there, the team would suffer. But I don't think the team would suffer as much with Ryan Tannehill there as they would have if Marcus Mariota was still there. Up next, probably the worst starting quarterback of last year, Mitch Trubisky. Uh, Traded up to take this man. One pick, even though the 49ers probably weren't even going to take him. I'm pretty sure they were going to take Solomon Thomas regardless. But they traded one pick up to take this bum when they could have taken this guy or this guy. The Bears organization is a joke. They have two garbage quarterbacks on their team. They got some decent players on defense, but I don't think I really need to say anymore. Mitch Trubisky is garbage. Up next, we got Tua. Same situation as these guys. I'm going to put them all next to each other. All the rookies from the first round this year, all having tremendous upside for them. I just don't know what I'm going to put them just yet because I haven't seen them in the NFL. Up next, Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is a great quarterback. Say what you want to. Now he doesn't have D Hop, so he's going to just prove it to everybody why he's so good of a quarterback. He has three decent receivers, nothing great. Will Fuller, Kenny Stills, and Brandon Cooks now. It's got David Johnson in the backfield. Hopefully he has a breakout year or a bounce back year. I do think Deshaun Watson is a great quarterback, and I do think he's going to lead them to the top of the division again. Up next, another great quarterback in Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz has been riddled with injury, but when he's not injured, he plays at an extremely high level, at a near MVP level at one point. Carson Wentz has blown expectations out of the water for me personally. Coming out of NDSU, I didn't know how good he was going to be stacked up against this guy, and I personally thought Jared Goff was supposed to be that first overall pick, but clearly he proved me wrong. Up next, Russell Wilson, though I don't think I need to say anymore. I think he is the second best quarterback in the league right now to Patrick Mahomes. I think Russell Wilson is that quarterback that you just have to love. His passion, his work ethic, the teams he's had his fall from grace from the Legion of Boom with Doug Baldwin and all those great players on his team to now where he has a decent team now. A couple years ago, he had zero offensive line. He was running for his life. And everyone doubted him coming out of college, just like this guy right here. Thought he was too short, but he proved everybody wrong, and now he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Could potentially lead his team to a Super Bowl this year, in my opinion. Last, but certainly not least, Jameis Winston is an average quarterback. Uh, I think like I said, I think he's one of the best backups in the league. Enough said. So, guys, this is my tier list of quarterbacks this year. I'm confident in the people that I put everywhere. I'm happy with what I made, the selections I made. If you guys have any differing opinions, be sure to let me know in the comment section below. And make sure you let me know if you guys want to keep seeing more of this stuff. I'm really excited for this channel, seeing where it goes, and I'm really excited for football. So if you're really excited for football, hit that like, hit that subscribe. Uh, Excited for this. I'll talk to you guys soon and take care.